The dietary guidelines tell us to choose foods high in nutrients but lower in calories. By that measure, vegetables are the healthiest foods on the planet, the most nutrient bang for our caloric buck. So, what would happen if a population mastered eating this way? Not eating less, but eating light. They might end up with some of the longest lives in the world and never feel heavy after a meal. Of course, you have to validate these claims. Birth certificates from the 1890s are hard to find, but validation studies confirm it. They really do live that long. The traditional Okinawan eating pattern centers on one principle: satisfied, not stuffed. They eat substantial amounts of food, greater mass than most populations. But the foods are calorically dilute, whole plants, mostly vegetables, and they stop before feeling full. The result? Stable energy all day, no post-meal crashes, and potentially 10 to 14 extra years on this earth. Okinawa is a validated blue zone, more centenarians per capita than anywhere else on the planet. And most of them are women. The longevity advantage is real, and it's been documented. But what are they actually eating? Most representations show the Okinawan diet like this: vegetables and grains as the base, but substantial fish and meat. That's not accurate. If you look at their actual dietary intake from the U.S. National Archives, because the U.S. military ran Okinawa until 1972, you can see what they really ate. More than 2,000 Okinawans tracked. Only 1% of their diet was fish. Less than 1% was meat. Same with eggs and dairy. So, more than 96% plant-based. More than 90% whole food plant-based. Very few processed foods either. The core principle isn't caloric restriction. They were eating about 1,800 calories a day, but they were eating a greater mass of food. The whole plant foods are just calorically dilute. There's also a cultural practice not to stuff oneself. Eat until you're 80% full, but the plant-based nature of the diet may matter more than the portion control. They're eating light foods, foods that don't weigh the body down, high water content, high fiber, nutrient-dense but not energy-dense. This creates a natural stopping point. You feel satisfied before you've consumed excessive calories. It's not willpower. It's the food itself signaling satiety. And it's not a diet system. It's a daily rhythm. The same types of meals repeated. Light lunch, even lighter dinner. No decision fatigue, no meal planning chaos. Just consistent, simple eating. The same foods most days. Sweet potatoes, vegetables, tofu, seaweed, repeat. This rhythm is effortless once established. It's not about restriction. It's about choosing foods that keep you light. And the outcome isn't just longevity. It's daily energy. Okinawans of all ages stay active. Karate masters at 74. Seaweed farmers working into their 80s. Radio exercise groups where the average age is 85 and they're touching their toes. That's what eating light looks like over decades. Not deprivation, not hunger. Just consistent energy and a body that doesn't feel heavy after every meal. Most of the traditional Okinawan diet was vegetables, but one vegetable in particular, sweet potatoes. Purple and orange varieties. The Okinawan diet was centered around sweet potatoes. How delicious is that? Could have been bitter gourd, but no, sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes made up more than half of their daily calorie intake. And that's no bad thing. They're a powerhouse vegetable. Incredibly rich in minerals, nutrients, vitamins. An absolute knockout cocktail of wonderful things in a sweet potato. If you don't eat them, go get some. If you eat them already, double it. They're really, really good. Beyond sweet potatoes, vegetable variety matters. Color rotation. Different nutrients from different plants. But there's another foundation food, tofu. Okinawans eat more tofu than anyone else in the world. Third-generation tofu makers still produce it by hand. Starting at 4 a.m., dried soybeans ground into milk, heated, then split with sea salt into curds. The depth of flavor is unbelievable. Freshly made tofu is a rare treat. And it's an important protein source in a diet with very little meat. Tofu is naturally lower in saturated fat and helps lower cholesterol. In a plant-based diet, it's the protein anchor. Then there's seaweed. Okinawans eat more seaweed than anyone else in the world, even more than people from mainland Japan. Dozens of varieties, all containing different powerful nutrients. One small handful of dried seaweed contains the same amount of iron as 2 whole bags of spinach. High levels of vitamin B12. Very good for the immune system, more nutritious than any land plant. It really is incredible stuff. And bitter melon. Goya, a summer staple. Extremely high in vitamin C. Fantastic for the immune and nervous systems. Just 100 grams provides all the vitamin C needed in a day. That's a clever vegetable. There's also miso, fermented soybeans, used in broths and soups. Adds umami without heaviness. What's notably absent? Meat. Less than 1% of the traditional diet. Dairy. Less than 1%. Heavy grains like wheat. Minimal. Processed foods. Almost none. This isn't about what they avoid. It's about what they eat consistently. Sweet potatoes, vegetables, tofu, seaweed, bitter melon, miso. Simple, plant-based, whole food meals. The same foundation foods repeated daily. That's the pattern. So, why does this support stable energy? Start with digestion. Whole plant foods are easier to digest than heavy processed meals. They move through the system efficiently. No sluggishness, no post-meal fatigue. Then there's blood sugar stability. Complex carbs from sweet potatoes release energy slowly. No spikes, no crashes. Consistent fuel throughout the day. Compare the caloric density. An Okinawan meal might have the same volume as a Western meal, same plate size, but the energy cost to digest it is completely different. Light foods don't weigh the body down. You're not spending hours recovering from lunch. The diet is also highly anti-inflammatory. More than 90% whole food plant-based makes it a highly anti-inflammatory diet, and highly antioxidant. If you measure the level of oxidized fat within their system, there's compelling evidence of less free radical damage. Maybe they're just genetically better antioxidant enzymes, or something. No, their antioxidant enzyme activity is the same. It's all the extra antioxidants they're getting from their diet that may be making the difference. Most of their diet is vegetables. All those antioxidants translate to daily energy. Less inflammation means less fatigue. Less oxidative stress means better cellular function. Better function means sustained energy. No heaviness. And you can see this in their activity levels. Karate masters at 74 years old. Strong as an ox. Still teaching. Seaweed farmers working with their 83-year-old mothers every day. Radio exercise groups where people in their 80s and 90s are touching their toes, spinning around, staying flexible. This has got to be amazing for old age and longevity. Daily exercise coupled with a healthy diet seems to be working wonders. But it's the diet creating the foundation. You can't maintain that activity level if you're tired after every meal, if your blood sugar is crashing, if your body is fighting inflammation. The Okinawan eating pattern removes those barriers. Light meals, nutrient-dense foods, easy digestion, stable blood sugar, low inflammation, high antioxidants. The result? Consistent energy from morning to night. No crashes, no heaviness, no need to recover from eating. That's what eating light actually delivers. Not just longevity decades from now. Energy today, tomorrow, every single day. The Okinawan method isn't about meal planning, it's about repetition. The same types of meals repeated daily. Light lunch, even lighter dinner. The same foundation foods most days, sweet potatoes, vegetables, tofu. Repeat. This sameness isn't monotony, it's metabolic consistency. Your body knows what's coming, digestion becomes efficient. No surprises, no adaptation period every meal. And there's no decision fatigue. You're not standing in front of the fridge wondering what to eat, you know? You've eaten it before. You'll eat it again tomorrow. It's a rhythm, not a rule. Eating speed matters too. Okinawans eat slowly, not as forced meditation, just cultural practice. Eating is social, communal. If any of the group doesn't turn up, they all look out for each other. Community eating creates accountability. You're not rushing through a meal alone. You're present, and that slower pace allows satiety signals to register. You stop before overeating because your body has time to communicate. Meal timing follows a pattern, lighter as the day progresses. Breakfast might be more substantial, lunch is light, dinner is lighter still. This aligns with digestion windows. Your body isn't working hard to process heavy food while you're trying to sleep. Morning routines support the eating pattern. Radio exercise broadcasts nationwide every morning. People meet up in groups to do it. They learn these exercises in primary school. Kids across the whole country do the same routine. Then, old-age pensioners do exactly the same. Stretching, flexibility, movement before the day begins. It's all about stretching and flexibility. They're incredibly flexible, touching their toes, spinning around, and this is community too. The same way communal eating is community. It all connects. Movement, light eating, social connection, daily rhythm. The pattern is predictable, sustainable, effortless, once established. You're not forcing yourself to eat light. You're eating light because that's what you do. Every day. The same way. No complexity, no elaborate meal prep, no counting anything. Just simple meals repeated consistently. That's the daily habit. And it works because it's boring in the best way. Boring means sustainable. Boring means you can do it for decades without thinking, which is exactly what Okinawans do. The rhythm becomes automatic. And automatic means it lasts. So how do you build an Okinawan-style light energy bowl? It's a template approach, not a rigid recipe. Start with the base. Roasted sweet potato. Why roasting? It concentrates the natural sweetness without adding anything. Cut into chunks. Roast until tender. That's your foundation. Then steamed greens. Variety matters here. You could use spinach, bok choy, kale, or any leafy green. Steaming preserves nutrients better than boiling. Keeps the texture right, not mushy, just tender. Next, tofu as your protein anchor. Firm tofu works best for this. Silken is too delicate. Cut into cubes. You can pan fry it lightly or leave it as is. Either way, it's protein dense without heaviness. No saturated fat load. Just clean protein. Then add a light liquid element. Miso, broth, or dashi. This isn't a soup, just enough liquid to bring everything together. Miso adds umami, that savory depth without making the bowl heavy. A few tablespoons, not a full broth situation. Finally, sesame seeds. Sprinkle them on top. They add minerals, a little healthy fat. Texture, crunch against the soft components. Now, here's the assembly logic. Warm base, the sweet potato, warm or room temperature vegetables, the greens, protein, the tofu, liquid element to tie it together, the miso. Finish with seeds. This creates flavor balance, slightly sweet from the potato, savory from the miso, earthy from the greens, umami from everything combined. The portion is substantial. You're not eating a tiny bowl, but the caloric load is light. High volume, low density. That's the key. You feel full, satisfied, but not weighed down. The macro breakdown without counting anything? Mostly carbs from the sweet potato, moderate protein from the tofu, minimal fat from the seeds, high fiber from everything, high water content. This combination delivers sustained energy. The complex carbs release slowly. The protein stabilizes blood sugar. The fiber keeps digestion moving. No crash 2 hours later. No heaviness immediately after. You can make this same bowl every day. Change the greens, swap the sweet potato color. Purple one day, orange the next. But the template stays the same. Base, greens, protein, liquid, seeds. That's it. Simple enough to repeat. Satisfying enough to sustain. Light enough to keep you energized. That's an Okinawan-style light energy bowl. So, what can you expect over time? Start with the daily marker, stable energy. No post-meal crashes. You eat lunch and you're not fighting to stay awake 2 hours later. You eat dinner and you're not collapsed on the couch. Consistent energy from morning to night. That's the first thing you'll notice. Then, reduced bloating. Digestive discomfort decreases. Whole plant foods with high fiber move through efficiently. No sluggish digestion. No uncomfortable fullness that lasts for hours. You feel lighter physically after meals. Not hungry, not deprived, just light. And that translates to an easier daily routine. Less meal planning chaos because you're eating the same template. Less recovery time after eating because the food doesn't weigh you down. The routine becomes effortless. But what about the longevity markers? The Okinawans eating this way had 8 to 12 times fewer heart disease deaths than the US. You can see they ran out of room for the graph for our death rate. 2 to 3 times fewer colon cancer deaths. 7 times fewer prostate cancer deaths. 5.5 times lower risk of dying from breast cancer. Lower inflammation. Better cholesterol profiles. Less oxidized fat in the system. These are measurable outcomes. For context, there's another population with similar results. Adventist vegetarians in California. They eat a 100% meat-free diet, perhaps the highest life expectancy of any formally described population. Adventist vegetarian men and women live to be about 83 and 86, the best of the best. Adventist vegetarians with healthy lifestyles, too, exercising non-smokers, 87 and nearly 90 on average. That's 10 to 14 years longer than the general population, 10 to 14 extra years from simple lifestyle choices. And this is happening now in modern times. But let's be clear about what this isn't. This isn't a quick fix. This isn't a weight loss scheme. This isn't a strict elimination diet where you're miserable. It's sustainable because it's simple, repetitive, boring in the best way. You can do this for decades, which is exactly what creates those outcomes. The Okinawans didn't eat light for 6 months. They ate light for their entire lives. The same foods, the same rhythm, year after year. That consistency is what delivers, not perfection, not complexity. Just simple meals repeated daily. And the realistic expectation? More energy now, better health markers over time, potentially extra years at the end. All from eating light consistently. The Okinawan method isn't complicated. Eat light, not less. Just foods that don't weigh you down. Plant-based, whole foods, mostly vegetables. Sweet potatoes as the base. Tofu for protein. Seaweed for minerals. Repeat daily. The energy stability is the immediate reward. No crashes, no heaviness, no recovery period after meals. The longevity is the long-term outcome. 10 to 14 extra years from lifestyle choices. But you get the daily benefits first. That's what makes it sustainable. The healthiest populations don't eat complicated diets. They eat the same light meals consistently. Same foundation foods. Same rhythm. No decision fatigue, no elaborate prep, just simple eating repeated until it's automatic. Sweet potatoes, vegetables, tofu, repeat. That's the pattern. And it works because it's boring enough to last decades, which is exactly how long you need to do it to get those extra years.